Welcome to Cattle Connect, your insight into Alabama's beef cattle industry. I'm your host, Kayla Greer, and this is Cattle Connect, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Well, y'all, believe it or not, it is December 27th, and it is the final episode of Season 1 of the Cattle Connect podcast. In just a year's time, we've produced 43 episodes. We've built a studio. We've learned a lot of hard lessons about deadlines and scheduling and how to push record on the podcast. We'll talk more about that in a little while. We also have had more brainstorming sessions than I can count, and yet here we are. Me, Erin, Josie, and Reid are all sitting here to wrap up for the year. Can you guys believe it?
No, not at all.
I cannot. It feels like 24 just started.
Are we sure we're going in 25?
I'm not. I'm still at the beginning of 24, but, nevertheless, here we are. And for the final episode of this first season, the team and I just thought that we should sit back and relax on the formality a little bit as we reflect over each of the 12 months of the year and just rehash some of the successes that we've had, or maybe even some of the little known moments of things that happen here at the Cattlemen's Association that maybe just doesn't get talked about as much. And hopefully in that talking it out process, you'll get to hear some of the fun facts or the funny things that happen along the way. And we'll be talking about all the branches of the association, whether that's checkoff, membership, foundation, policy. We're covering it all. And so without further ado, I need everybody to just go back to January 2024 with me as we kick off talking through the 12 different months. And I'll start off. January was the first Cattle Connect podcast episode. It was the time when Erin said, "Hey, Kayla, we need to do this." And so January 19th, 2024 brought you the podcast.
The podcast. Well, Kayla, if I had to think of something that pops out in my head, January is always fun because we kick off the year. Obviously, it's really busy around the association. I feel like January to May, really busy for everybody. But one thing we get to do is the officers and we always travel to the NCBA annual meeting. And that meeting was interesting this year because I feel like we went into it with the expectation that a certain policy would come out of it related to animal disease traceability. But it was an interesting process and felt like we came out of that meeting really nicely. A lot of the states worked together really hard to formulate a policy that was really in line with what our policy book says. And so that was a real win for us to be able to come out and, establish that policy and have a vote on animal disease traceability that the state of Alabama was comfortable with.
Yeah, so January, for me, obviously getting ready for convention and things like that. But to kind of break that up a little bit, it's when, most county meetings take place. And so that's always really great for us to just get around to the state, maybe get around to places that we don't get to go to a lot and see all the great work that those counties are doing. So I always really enjoy that.
Cake auction season.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you're not kidding. The third and fourth weekend of January are just like loaded down with county annual meetings. So there is no shortage of things for us to do those 2 weekends.
Yeah, and we'll mention bull sales a little bit later, but I'll tell you the cake sales, the average on those was pretty high at the county meetings.
Strong cake season.
Yeah, very strong.
I think I'll echo on that one, Reid. I really enjoyed county meeting season looking back over the entire year because that was a good opportunity for me to get out and about around some of our producers that I don't always see on the beef education front. So it was really neat to see all the different counties and kind of the things that they do a little bit more uniquely for their county meetings because every county does it differently. So really enjoyed that. And then also in January, that's a good opportunity for me to get in with some of our groups who are responsible for getting beef to our consumers. So this past year, I spent January visiting with our food service crews and offering some beef education to them, which was really good. Kind of something that's not as easy to pull off during our busier months. So January is always a good time for me to reevaluate some of those things.
And like you said in last week's episode, Josie, you're looking forward to kind of adding more to that food service initiative in 2025. So building on what you started in 24, looking forward to that.
Yes, very excited.
All right, crew, February. Who wants to take that one first?
You can't talk about February and not talk about the convention.
Oh, I mean, it's the highlight of the year. I think February might take the cake, no pun intended. As we all look so forward to convention, and there's so many different facets to convention to highlight.
Yeah, so I know one specifically for me, and this was my first year doing it, was kind of overseeing the trade show. That's always really great to interact with all those, businesses and industry groups and just the kind of diverse crowd that we get there at the largest cattle industry trade show in Alabama. And so that was great. Yeah, that's always a great experience. And then for me, another one that we always look forward to is getting to graduate our YCLP Class 10.
Oh, yeah.
Getting to see all those young people, walk across the stage, get recognized for their hard work. Some of them, what's really neat about it is that's their first time going to convention. And, what I thought was great was afterwards I had several of them say, I haven't been to this or I haven't been to this since I was a kid, but I'll probably go back every year, once they kind of see what it's about and get to experience that. And that's, directly what we're trying to do with that program. So always love that.
Well, it's helped the convention grow so much because one thing I know some of our more seasoned members have talked about in the leadership, they say, man, I feel like we've really grown because I can see all these young people that are coming back. And Reid, that's a product of YCLP.
Yeah, directly. And like you mentioned, Reid, just a minute ago, you said that it was your first year overseeing it. For me, for convention in 2024, that was my first time kind of overseeing the new sponsorship program there. And we were really excited to bring that new program to life and bring in a whole bunch more new sponsors and offer them some fun, unique ways to integrate into the convention and promote their product or their service or their company. So, and then of course, y'all, we would be remiss if we didn't say that convention, the highlight there is getting new officers, getting a new officer team. I know that is for you, Erin.
Oh, that is always one of my highlights of the year. I love to see the leadership transition. It's just fun to watch. The past presidents, they have a ton of pride in welcoming that new past president into that club, as I call it. But just always fun to see the officers come in into through our changing of the guard ceremony. The Cattlemen's Heritage Banquet, that is just between YCLP, the changing of the guard, and then the Alabama Livestock Hall of Fame.
It's good stuff.
It's just a fun 2 hours.
And one of the better steaks that you'll eat.
Amen,
Yes.
brother.
Yeah,
McGuire.
because they always, and it's always neat, like, those chefs, they kind of see it as like a challenge, like, all right, we've got Cattlemen here, got to be
got
on my
the
A game.
Cattlemen here.
And I just,
They know they have to get
love
it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Reid, you said it was your first time for the trade show, and Kayla, it was your first time with sponsorships, but it was my first time, period. This was my first time
Welcome,
being on
Josie.
this
Oh,
side of
man.
convention,
Man.
which I guess is kind of the theme for the first half of 2024. A lot of firsts for me. But the last time that I was at the Cattlemen's Convention, I was actually competing in some of the AJCA contests, so it was really neat to be on this side of things and see
We won't say how many years
everything
ago.
works.
that
Yeah,
was.
we're just not going to talk
Yeah.
about that.
2023, right?
Just keep running. Keep going.
But it was really neat to see how all of that comes together and kind of learn more about some of those banquets and the things that go into that because I had never seen that side before. So I love convention, enjoyed it all the way around, and I'm really excited for another year.
All right, so the star on top of February is absolutely convention. All right, which means that the next month is March. What do y'all got for March? I'll kick it off, actually, because I think one of the biggest efforts that we had as the association in March was the hay relief effort. If you'll all go back in time, that we had that awful wildfire that just scorched across the Texas Panhandle. It was like 1.1 million acres burned up, and the Department of Ag and Alabama Truckers Association and us, the ACA, we got together and said, hey, let's pull an effort together to send some hay out to Borger, Texas. And Erin, you might know the numbers a little bit better on that than I, but it was like 15 to 20 loads of hay or something like that.
Yeah, Kayla, I think it came out to almost 500 rolls that went directly from Alabama, and that was all donated hay from our producers, and went straight to Texas. And then on top of that, as the Alabama Cattlemen's Foundation, once again, our county chapter stepping up in a huge way. Between county chapters and individuals, we also took donations to send straight to the Texas and Southwestern cattle raisers relief efforts, and we sent over $35,000 out there in direct donations that went straight back to people that were in need. So our people, they know how to step up when folks are in need.
Yeah, and then, obviously, February, big month for the convention. March, can't mention it without mentioning the Southeastern Livestock Expo.
Oh, absolutely.
Rodeo time.
Yeah, great tradition here in Montgomery. And for me, that's a busy time being involved in a lot of the youth livestock stuff. Kicked off the month with our SLE Youth and Collegiate Livestock Judging Contest. Had record numbers there. Had 434 contestants
Good
from
Man,
10 states.
That's a lot of kids.
Great
And that's everybody from 9-year-old 4-H'ers all the way up to folks that are in senior college. And so,
And how cool for those like 9-year-old 4-Hers to be in a competition with those collegians like that.
Yeah, it's for them, it's a unique experience just because they get to see, quality animals and kind of level of competition in a contest that they may not get to see, elsewhere in the Southeast. And so that's something that takes a big crew to pull it off, and they've all done a great job of that. And then obviously, your JLE, that deal's really grown and expanded. Getting to see all of our junior cattlemen, kind of show off their hard work with all their cattle, and always great to see those kids and recognize them.
Credit to SLE for the work they do to help youth, provide those opportunities and those competition scenarios, whether it be judging or showing animals. The youth rodeo group is there, so big credit to SLE on the work that they do.
They really put out some high-quality events during that time. They get a lot done in a very, very short amount of time. And for me, I'm kind of doing the same thing as Reid as far as youth showcasing the projects they've been working on, but I'm on the culinary side. So that's when in Alabama all the FCCLA and Pro Start contests really take place between February and March. And that's where students bring forth their projects they've been working on all year and the skills that they've learned and really showcase those on the state level and hopefully get the opportunity to go to the national level. So I really enjoy getting to be a part of those. And then we also have our Beef It's What's for Dinner cook-off in March, which is really neat.
Cook-off.
Our barbecue guys come out and show out all their good skills, and we get to eat some good steak. So that one's always really enjoyable too.
I like that one.
That one's a really neat event. It really is.
And March is, I think we can always agree, like with February, the convention is kind of the theme of the month in February. March, it's rodeo and all its auxiliary events, like we mentioned. And there are a couple other things happening behind the scenes that fall into March as well, but it really just feels like rodeo time in March. Lots of jeans and boots and button-downs and hopping in the car and riding out to the Coliseum. And that rolls us into April. And I'm just going to go ahead and stake my claim in the month of April here.
Tell us about April for you, Kayla.
April was, it was hot and it was heavy. And I'm claiming it as my personal victory because on April 25th, I brought the newest Cattlemen's Association member into the world. So I'm claiming that one as mine. And the day before it, I wore heels and lobbied in the State House on behalf of cattlemen. So that was it for me for April. That's about all I remember.
We're going to just stick a fork in you on that one. We lost Kayla for a little bit of time while she was off tending to Mr. Nolan, our newest member, who we are happy to get this year. But speaking of session, it started in February. We haven't even mentioned it yet.
Yeah, right.
But, March, April is like the heart of the session. And so, obviously, we had a lot happening on top of all the other things we're talking about. And you mentioned getting to wear boots and jeans a lot. But, Kayla, for you and I, that also means having a change of clothes because
a change of clothes close by, yes.
Always have a change of clothes because you probably have to shoot out the side door and head to the State House. And so a lot of time spent there. Great session for us. We had a lot of highlights, specifically, the state sales tax exemption on our fencing materials used for livestock. And then also the money in the Education Trust Fund that was secured for our junior livestock programs. And so really, really happy with the session.
And then we also got to work closely with some of our trade association alliances there to keep that property tax cap, to work with that legislation to make sure that our Class 3 properties, which is your ag properties out there, that we can cap the hike on those at time of reappraisal. So that was a good trade organization time to come together and just work together to protect you guys.
Yeah, and then one other kind of unique opportunity that we got in April was we were able to host the Southeast BQA Train the Trainer event here at the building. So we had the National BQA folks come in, and we had extension personnel from all over the Southeast. I actually had one gal from Puerto Rico even that came to the building, and they got to learn about how they can better get the BQA message and training out to producers. Got the opportunity to go out to CK Cattle and do some hands-on kind of stuff. And it's always great. I know y'all know anytime we get to showcase the building. And, I had one guy come up to me after and he said, well, I can tell you one thing after being there, cattlemen in Alabama are serious about their business. And so that's always...
That's nice.
That's a nice line.
Getting comments like that is always great, and then getting those opportunities to show off what we do and host people.
You know what, my friends that are real jealous of the building here, and you know what they call it, right?
I haven't heard this actually.
What is this?
Okay, all right. So my exec friends in other states, we host a lot. We do a lot of hosting because we have the space and we're so blessed with it.
Southern hospitality people.
Yeah, and we have hospitality. So what we say, the hostesses with the mostesses around here, but they call it the Taj Mahal of Cattlemen's Association. And you know what? That's a feather in our cap and a credit to our forefathers for those that allowed us and afforded us the opportunity to have such a fantastic facility.
That's funny. The Taj Mahal. I'm gonna use that from now on. I might change the phone number in my contacts to the Taj Mahal. Cattlemen's building, the Cattlemen's Taj Mahal.
The beef Taj Mahal.
Well, speaking of calling in people, right before Kayla got to sneak out here to enjoy some time with her new bundle of joy, I did have her go with me to the Alabama junior and senior high school beef cook-off. So it was also all hands on deck for that. We worked with our Cattlewomen to pull that one off, but she had one last thing on her to-do list to take care of before she could leave. So she was there with me taking pictures and really promoting those kids who made it to the state level to compete. I would say that's my big win for April.
Yeah, it was a great event, and that was at a new location this year for the first time.
Yes, we were at the River Chase Career Connection Center, which is a new facility they cover Shelby and Jefferson County, but it was really neat to highlight that facility as well and some of the awesome things they're doing there.
Yeah, I think it was a welcome change for that contest, and was glad I could make it up there for you, and then glad that I could leave my stuff with you in May. So why don't you what were you doing in May, Josie?
Yeah, Josie, tell us about May.
I think it's a little bit of a fever dream still. I have always appreciated Kayla and the many things she's taught me as I came in the office. And if I didn't already appreciate it enough, I think May was kind of the nail in that coffin of realizing how much she does. So spent a lot of time learning some new communication skills and trying to help kind of fill some of that gap. But I was definitely very excited to see you when you came back towards the end of the summer. So welcome back, Kayla.
I very much appreciate all that you did to cover me while I was out, Josie.
Anytime.
Josie, thanks for not breaking it.
I tried.
Whatever it was you were working on, thank you for not breaking
the podcast, I'll be honest with listeners here for a minute. I really thought I heard it there for a second. Week 1, Kayla left, and I sat down, and there was apparently an update with the system, and we didn't know it. And so I sat down, and it didn't look like it had when I learned to run it at the beginning of the year. So, Erin, I don't know if you heard all of that down the hallway in your office, but I definitely had a moment.
Yeah, that hallway, the sounds traveled pretty good.
It was a little rough, but we got it together. We kept the Cattle Connect going, and Kayla got back, and I think it was all still in one piece when I passed it back over.
Hey, I didn't even notice. So y'all did a great job.
That was our goal.
Appreciate it.
That was the goal.
So in May, for me, that's a time that we get to kick off our YCLP class in conjunction with that May Board of Directors meeting. That's always just a great meeting in general. A lot of great information, a lot of great attendance, and then having that group there and just kind of get them exposure to that, get to see what the Board of Directors does, and then we took them around to some other industry groups, over here in Montgomery and get to see what they do. And so that's always a really big highlight for me. And then, Erin, we had a pretty big event in Wetumpka in May too with our scholarships.
Man. Oh my gosh, the scholarship banquet, Alabama Cattlemen's Foundation, again, another record year, but getting to give out over $100,000 in scholarships on an annual basis is really an awesome thing for the foundation and a great reason to be a member, might I add. Let me just do a quick membership plug. If you're a member, as long as the child's parents or grandparents are members for 2 consecutive years, they can apply for a scholarship. And we have so many different scholarships available. And so that was a huge event for us in the spring and something that I always look forward to as we not only have the scholarship banquet, but then we're able to actually send all the scholarship money off to the different schools.
Well, and talking about that a little bit more, it's also neat to see on the communications side how many communities really highlight these kids after they receive these scholarships.
Yes.
So sending out that information and all of the local newspapers and news groups who reached out to the kids to get a quote and talk more about why they do what they do and why they're involved in the association and what they're hoping to do in their future. It's just really neat to see those communities really showcasing those youth for all of their hard work.
And the county chapters, they're really good about going and having their red coat on and presenting at senior awards days. All that is just it's just icing on the cake for that program.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, all the promotion for those is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, but it's absolutely 100% worth it. Not only to promote the foundation scholarships and the opportunities that are there, but to highlight those kids and the hard work that they're doing in those communities. And those newspapers eat it up.
That's one thing, Josie. You got a really quick education on press releases.
I did. I wrote my fair share in college, but there's nothing like sitting down to write press releases for over 100 kids and trying to get those with a quick turnaround, because I don't know, for the people listening, media likes to work fast. So if something happens one evening, you got to get those out pretty quick. But it's always worth it. It's always worth the time just to showcase those youth and their role in agriculture and what they're hoping to go forth and do in their future, because I think it really goes to show that ag affects more than just food production. Food production is a huge part of it, but it really affects our people in all the different roles. So it's always neat to see how that turns out.
Well, I think that brings us to June. We're
halfway through the year.
No, June is 6. We have to get through June
okay,
to
right.
get halfway.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I think I need a nap already.
I wasn't here, so I'm going to leave it with you guys. But I will say, before I tap out here on June, that I did do a podcast with Daniel Adams in August to report on the fact that he attended the Young Cattlemen's Conference on behalf of the Cattlemen's Association. It was a 10-day conference in association with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, and he represented Alabama on that trip and did a fantastic job. He started out in Colorado, made some stops there, went to NCBA, went to Greeley, went to Five Rivers Feed Yard, those stops, and then worked his way across over to the East Coast and ended the trip in D.C. And that is something that we take part in every year. And Daniel, if you're listening, I hope you know how much we appreciate how well you represented us in the state of Alabama this year on YCC.
I'm glad he went. That's an unforgettable trip. So so glad that Daniel represented, and as you said, Kayla did a fantastic job there. June for us, oh my gosh, regional meetings.
All the meetings.
Somebody had a great idea to have 7 of those this year.
I wonder who that was.
I don't know who that was, but we were at 6, and then all of a sudden we got to 7.
I just remember y'all sitting down in that meeting and her saying, y'all, I just don't know how we're going to do 6. We have to do 7. So
I don't remember that.
I think it's fuzzy, but it's back there somewhere. We might have to pull the rewind tape.
I'm glad we don't record things around here. But yeah, regional meetings, they took up a good bit of the summer, but they started, I think they started in June. Heck, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
But they took up June. I do know that much. And those were really unique this year. We have a lot of sponsors for those, but we also partnered with Livestock Marketing Association. We were able to conduct listening sessions during each of those 7 meetings, and June was really the heart of the meetings. And so we started up in North Alabama and trekked south. And, something that came out of those is just some great topics for education. And as we've mentioned, we will see a lot of that at convention coming out. But really appreciate the members that participated in the listening sessions. I thought the format and the platform was great. I enjoyed it, just giving, knowing that we had the ability for people to share their thoughts on a lot of different topics that we were bringing up. So thanks to all that attended those, and thank you to our sponsors that supported those meetings so greatly.
Can we share the funny moment of the very first regional meeting with all of this technology?
I don't know. Wait.
When we showed up,
Erin always
and
gets nervous with funny stories.
Lightning. Do you remember this moment?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so that was part of the new regional meeting format, is we had some more technology involved, which was great until we arrived at the very first one. Remember, Kayla is on maternity leave. Our resident technical person was not there, and so Erin and I had to quickly sort through how to work out around a system that had been basically exploded by lightning. So it was a great start. I really like to say we started off with a bang, but it all worked out.
Literally, you did.
Yeah, you did.
You know what I always say about our meetings? As long as no one else knows we're having technical issues, it's okay.
This is true, and it turned out. It all worked out.
It all worked out. It always does.
So,
thanks, Scottsboro.
Yeah, I know for me, talking about a month and just kind of an event you associate with a month, that would be the state FFA convention for
that's
me.
a good one.
And for
always
really for
fun.
everybody. We
Yes.
do so much, talk about getting to showcase the building. We host that Wall of Honor banquet, have a lot of groups come through, touring the museum, and that's always awesome. And then, we had the opportunity to take part in the Career Expo that they have there, Josie and I did, and just always really great to get to interact with all of those kids and get to see kids that we only get to see a handful of times throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Got to present some of the awards that we sponsored, so awards for the state livestock judging, meats judging, the beef production, SAEs, that's just always such a great time and get to interact with those kids and see all their hard work.
The future of agriculture is very bright. I think
Yeah.
we can definitely agree with that across the year, but especially at that convention.
It is, and getting to see the retiring officer addresses and seeing them bring in the new officers. Yeah, I mean that's something that if you ever get down on kids, I would tell you to listen to those or pop into that event, and you'll leave feeling pretty good.
Yeah,
That's right.
and all of the teachers that are involved in that, so they're bringing those kids. But we have so many of our members and YCLP graduates and stuff. That
Very
are
active,
really active.
county presidents and board members
Yeah.
and ones that are really helpful in just having that connection. It's
and they
just
bring
so
their
valuable.
blue coats to the museum,
Yeah.
which is fun.
I love seeing all the pictures of them going through the museum, and sometimes they'll post little videos and things like that on social media. It's always neat to see what their favorite part of the museum is.
That's right.
All right, y'all, believe it or not, now am I allowed to say that we're halfway through?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
halfway.
so
July.
that is the end of June, and now let's roll into July. What y'all got for July?
It was hot.
It was.
It was hot.
Oh, I know.
Reid knows better than all of us.
Oh, I know. If a lot of people were shocked that day that we were moving in stuff for the roundup, I was wearing shorts, and there's a lot of people in this side of my life that have never seen me in shorts. I mean,
can't
they
say that I have.
about didn't even recognize me. But yeah,
They weren't starched. I didn't know what to do.
no, didn't starch
You
the
weren't
golf
creased.
shorts. Yeah. I was rough. It had my hat, my fishing shirt, and my shorts. Yeah, so. But
Wait.
yeah, that the roundup obviously talked about that in last week's episode. Hard to believe we've been doing it. That was the 18th one, and that's always great. But then after that, Josie and I, we kind of licked our wounds and went the next week and went to the Career Tech Conference that they have annually in Mobile, and that was an event neither one of us had ever been to, but participated in that trade show that they have there, and then we both were panelists, and then you gave a couple of presentations. And
That was a really good conference. I was very thankful for the air conditioning after
Yeah.
the roundup and all of that. So we got to stay inside, but really enjoyed meeting with those teachers and kind of offering some beef resources and just finding out what they need out in the classroom, because that's something that we don't always have the opportunity to do. So learned a lot of good things and got to share a lot of good things.
yeah, always great because typically whenever we see those, it's at some competition or something where I've got kids to take care of, they've got kids to
Right.
take care of,
It's
all
always
that
in a
stuff.
rush.
Yeah, and then we see them in that setting, and a lot of good ideas and good conversations come from that.
Really good group of people. And that really launches into my conference season. So when I'm in between some of these other events we have going on, I spend a lot of time working with the different influential groups that we promote beef through. And so conferences are a great way for me to do that. So Grocers Association, that's Rural Food Security, that's the Educators Conference, and then also some training conferences for me to go and learn about communications and maybe some new platforms that we can do that on. So I really enjoy that. It's really a whirlwind, but a great time of meeting a lot of new people and building some new relationships and connections to use in the future.
And then July for me, on top of, we continued the regional meetings, of course, but something we had going on here on site at the headquarter building is we were doing some more building upgrades. And so out front, we got a new front canopy put on. And so you no longer get wet when you walk up in a training to the front door.
It's so wonderful.
So that's pretty nice.
So nice.
It rained the other day, and I didn't get wet. It was nice. And then also we got a brand new concrete pad in the beef wagon. Took a little move. It did not run. It was taken from point A to point B through the parking lot on a tow truck. But it's now nicely positioned at the corner of the building in the parking lot, and you can take pictures for those that are coming to visit the museum, any of our tour groups that come through, and just got also started, I believe, on the podcast studio around that time. Kind of the idea of it, started working on some
That's
plans,
right,
and
yeah.
so a little bit of building upgrade happening in July.
Love that. And so for the sake of time, I'm going to bump us on over to August. Also a super hot month of the year. And one of the way that we kicked it off, Josie, you and I went over to Auburn.
War Eagle.
And we got the opportunity to partner with the Lee County Cattlemen's Association, Elmore County Cattlemen's Association, and the Montgomery County Cattlemen's Association. I'm not missing anybody, am I, Josie?
That's all the main crew as far as the county chapters. They do a great job of promoting and cooking a lot of steaks for a big crew, so it's always a good time.
Yeah, so we got to bring those guys over with their cook trailers, and they prepared a steak dinner for the Auburn football team. That's not something you get to say all the time, but Coach Freeze started that tradition when he was over in Mississippi. He partnered with the Mississippi Cattlemen's Association. So one of his first calls when he moved to Alabama and to coach at Auburn was to us to say, hey, would love for you guys to cook us some protein. And we said yes.
Yes, please.
When
We're gonna
and where?
we got to add some magic sauce next year, guys. I just, as a Tigers fan, we have
Yeah.
got to figure out what it's going to take for that steak to really
Well,
kick in for the season.
all of my culinary education kids are saying that we need to swap to T-bones. So this past year we did ribeyes, and they're convinced that T-bones are going to be T-bones for touchdowns.
Oh.
So
like
we may
that.
have to play around with this and see, but they have definitely given that opinion. And I will say I think it was really neat to show up there, and the players are excited to see you because they're excited to eat beef and hang out with the cattlemen. But also it's really neat that the nutritionist was very excited to see us. Their group dietitian always comes up to me and tells me how much she appreciates us being there and how thankful she is that we support beef because she wants her players eating beef and she knows that it's what they need to keep them running well on the field. And so to hear that from someone who works in that day in and day out means that a lot of the nutrition education that's happening across the country is doing a really good job to highlight that for our athletes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. While they're shopping the transfer portal, forget about NIL. You will get a great steak if you come to Auburn. Any quarterbacks, offensive linemen out there, you will get a great steak if you
Kickers?
come to Auburn. Yeah, kickers. Yeah, need some of them.
We're
Need
accepting
some of
all
them.
players
Yeah.
in exchange for steak.
Nice plug, Reid. Really nice plug. Another highlight for August, keeping it on the Auburn train, a big win, a touchdown for the Department of Animal Sciences, might I add, was the hiring of Dr. Kim Mullenix. Many of you, of course, are familiar with Dr. Mullenix. She previously was a beef cattle extension specialist and has transitioned into the role as department head for animal sciences. So couldn't be more thrilled for her in the work that she's going to do. Of course, she shared some vision of that with us this year on the podcast.
Yeah, and then one thing that we always do in August, so we elect our new AJCA directors in July, and then we bring them back in August to have a meeting to kind of get them kicked off, get to know each other, kind of recap the roundup, plan for the fall. One kind of unique thing that we had, and it really wasn't planned this way originally, just kind of worked out, and it was great. We had a group of junior cattlemen from Tennessee that came. They were doing a little tour of Alabama, so they went to Jordan-Hare Stadium, the vet school, some other places in North Alabama on their way down. And then they came to the building one morning when we had our junior directors there, and we had a morning full of, a lot of fun and get to know you kind of stuff and got to talk about the association. Josie, she comes up with a lot of good icebreakers. If you need an icebreaker,
Yes.
if you've got a group that's a little awkward, whatever, call Josie. She can.
You broke the
Handle it.
ice.
It's
Josie.
that 4-H background coming
That
in hot.
4-H
We
came out
know about some
strong.
icebreakers, let me tell you.
Josie was back there with her scissors and some colorful paper and a volleyball and all kinds of things, just like crafting. And she was like, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do," and we were like, "Yes, ma'am."
In an alternate world, I think I might be a preschool teacher. I can't really decide what
see
I
it.
would be somewhere else, but maybe a preschool teacher, maybe a camp counselor, maybe
Camp
who
counselor.
knows?
Camp
Who
counselor,
knows?
Yes, that's
Yes.
you.
I was known as one in high school,
That
so
was
I
so
guess that
fun,
checks
though.
out.
That was fun having
It
those
was.
kids, both
It
the groups
was.
come together. And Reid, if I'm not wrong, I think we're going to maybe try to reciprocate that. And
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
try to do
definitely.
something next
We've got that on our minds for sure for next year. Yeah, take our juniors up there, and great lot of great places they've got there in Tennessee. And anytime, and we'll talk about it here in a couple months with our YCLP trip. Anytime we can get them to other states to see how they do things, see the similarities, differences, anything like that, we definitely take that opportunity.
Well, and you mentioned learning how other people do things, and I feel like a big highlight of mine for August was going to the Ag Media Summit, just because that was an opportunity for me to go and learn about how some other people are kind of communicating their messages. And I won't geek out on y'all too much of all the communications things, but it's always a good opportunity when you can go learn from somebody else of how they do something and kind of critique your own programs and adjust from there.
All right, y'all. Now we're heading boldly into the fall months. What y'all got for September?
well, for September, unfortunately for me, I spent a lot of time in the area of hurricane relief, and that's not something that we ever want to be involved with. But
I can't believe that was September. That feels like, I don't know. I can't decide if it feels so long ago or like yesterday.
It's been a weird year. I'm not really sure. I
Yeah.
think a little bit of both.
yeah, I mean, we had the fires in the spring, and then our neighbors to the east got slammed with 2 hurricanes through September and October. And once again, credit to our folks. The Cattlemen's Foundation really stepped up. We were able to organize a lot of monetary donations from our county chapters and individuals. Foundation did some matching. We sent funds to North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. We sent crews to help clean up. in North Carolina, in Georgia. I know some people went to Florida as well. And then on top of that, we also were able to organize some fencing materials, and we sent a truckload of fencing materials to North Carolina. And so all in all, feel like we were definitely there to help our neighbors when they were in need. But again, not anything you ever want to have to deal with, but also thankful that the hurricanes, did, that we steered clear of a major punch.
We did.
They didn't cut through Alabama, but and that allowed us to activate to help our neighbors. Because if we would have been there alongside them, then we wouldn't have been able to help as much as we did. So
yeah, and now we're kind of thinking about, okay, how can we get that in a little bit more organized format? And so, some things will probably come out of it so that we can continue, that disaster response and being there for our people in the rural areas when we know there's not as much resources available in the aftermath of a really bad natural disaster.
Yeah, so kind of while all that was going on, too, we had our fall Junior Cattlemen Field Days. Those were really well attended, had about 250 kids between the two of them. They were kind of focused on livestock judging, so if you went to those, you got to learn about livestock judging from Jesse Henson, who I will add is a National Collegiate Coach of the Year.
Whoop, whoop. Go Jesse.
That was a great opportunity for those kids and really well attended. And then another kind of unique thing I got to do, so they had a ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Blount County Agribusiness Center. If you have not had a chance to go there, it is great. Really, really great facility, and great to see the support of the community coming together for something that supports agriculture. Just a great agricultural area. It's really strong there. And we're starting to see a lot of those kind of facilities start to pop up. I know I've seen here and there a lot of blueprints and plans for those, and so that's always great and encouraging.
And it's ironic that you say that, because this morning I had an email come through from Jessica where she had heard from the Blount County Cattlemen's Association of their annual meeting, and it's going to be at that center. So excited that they're getting to incorporate their county calf show along with the annual meeting.
Right, yeah.
And so excited for them and the opportunity that facility brings them.
That's really neat. Yeah, September, I'm not out and about as much, but I promise y'all I'm still getting stuff done. So with October hot on the heels, I spend a lot of time here in the office, hidden away in what we call the checkoff cave, just trying to get everything prepped for that busy month of beef promotion. So that's everything from building out digital assets to talking with our news companies that we work with to sending out resources to our county chapters so that they can go and promote in their communities. So even if you don't see me, I'm still around. I'm probably just hiding somewhere designing ads or making phone calls.
Which leads us, I think that's the perfect segue, into the month of October. Miss Beef Month Queen, why don't you take that one?
They say it's the most wonderful time of the year for the holidays, but I think we could use that around here for October Beef Month because it really is an enjoyable month of beef promotion. This year was 60 years, and so we did a lot and don't necessarily have time to talk about all the things we did today. But Kayla, I want to highlight one that you worked really hard on and really helped me out with, and that would be our 60 Savory Stops campaign.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So taking that play off of all the Bama's Best contests that we've had in the past, all of those restaurant contests, and really highlighting the people that work really hard to get beef out to our consumers in those communities is something that I really enjoyed and really cherished. And on our own platforms, we had almost 1 million impressions with that. So that's excluding all the news companies that picked it up and all the other influencers that helped out with that. So that I would consider that a really successful campaign and something that'll live on in perpetuity on our website.
That is an excellent win. Yeah, I mean, like you said, that is just on our platforms, on our stuff. So over 1 million reached just with that one campaign. You did so many other things in the month of October to promote beef, but that one thing, that digital campaign that basically created a trail of 60 different restaurants that you could stop by and visit and try a specific beef dish at those restaurants. And how we conglomerated that list was that they are former winners or finalists of the Bama's Best Beef, Bama's Best Burger, or
Bama's Best Steak.
Bama's Best Steak. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for
the
reminding
OG.
me. That's right. The original contest. That's right. And so appreciate those restaurants that just decided to jump on board with us and just have a really cool contest. It wasn't a contest though. It took place of the contest that we usually host. And
yeah, I'd call it a showcase of sorts.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. And like you said, you made the comment that it was going to live on in perpetuity. We get calls all the time about recommendations.
Regularly.
For steakhouses in this part of the state or that part of the state or here or there. And now that we might not continue to call it 60 savory stops, but we have this list now of places that we can kind of recommend people, and here's why we recommend them. And so excited about that. Loved that campaign and glad we were able to pull it off, Josie.
Yeah, and I think it's always really neat when we can go back to those communities, and the county chapters are, something I want to shout out here of all the hard work they do to highlight beef production in their area, because we know across the state of Alabama there's a lot of variance in how people do things, and that's a good thing. They make it fit exactly their operation in their county. But 60 Savory Stops was another way to do that. So we spent a lot of time here on the state level doing digital promotions and trying to reach statewide, but it's always neat to see the grassroots efforts happening, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. We're for those producers on the ground, so it's neat to see the beef promotion happening on that level too.
Yeah, and those counties really did a fantastic job of activating in their communities. And we did the Cattlemen of Beef Month contest. So, Josie, I think we would be remiss if we didn't highlight who those winners were. Who took the cake for that this year?
Yes, it was a tough competition for sure this year. We had a lot of counties blow it out of the park, but Geneva County took home the prize for that one. They'll be awarded at our convention in February, and we're really proud of them. But I also just want to say I'm proud of all the other counties that went out and did these things. They had a lot of very unique promotions. We had several counties that wrote their own books about beef education and beef production, and that was something neat to see this year. And then just the way that they interacted with groups in their communities, instead of just trying to do it as something like a, hey, look at us. They really shine that spotlight on several of the groups in their different communities, whether that was donating beef to a local FACS classroom or making sure that they were going into a nursing home and offering beef to those older people who may not be able to cook it for themselves anymore. And so just really proud of the way that they highlight that, but they really take the time to take care of other people in those highlights.
Reid, Erin, y'all have anything happening in October?
Yeah, so October, while Josie's on the road promoting beef, I'm usually on the road going to bull sales. And it was just a really awesome, strong sale season, and still kind of continuing now. And we have such a strong and really diverse seed stock industry here in Alabama, and just getting to see all that is always so great. Averages were good. Calf prices have been really good.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. It's been a great just market in general for 24.
Yeah, just really strong and just always great to see that. One of my favorite times of the year is getting to get around and see everybody at those.
And my favorite thing for October is the fact that Josie couldn't be two places at once, and I got to go back to my roots one day and do a Beef 101 at Auburn for one of our culinary groups. So that was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, you were a little giddy about that.
A little bit.
And I appreciate it. I think the students really enjoyed it from what I heard, and kind of want you to make another appearance. So you may have to get back out on the road with me doing some beef education sometime.
Uh-oh. Don't tempt her with a good time.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
And y'all, we can't forget that we also had the Bainbridge Block Party in October, and it was supposed to be in July, and then it was supposed to be in September, and it kept getting moved for all these different reasons. But hey, I am personally extremely happy that it landed in October when it did, because we had it on October 29th. It was a beautiful day, good food, good turnout, just beautiful weather, great event here at the museum downstairs out in our parking lot.
Another great showcase, not only of the beef cattle industry in the state and our partner organizations on Bainbridge, but a great showcase of our headquarter building here.
That's right. All right, moving on to November.
Oh my gosh, we made it.
We're nearing the
Almost.
end, folks. This is going to take the record for the longest podcast, but hey, it's a year in review, so that makes sense, right? We should spend a little extra time on it. All right, what y'all got for October?
We're in November, sister.
November.
What did I just say?
Time flies.
Yeah, that's right. What y'all got for November? Let me get that right.
So we had the opportunity to take our Young Cattlemen's Leadership Program Council. So these will be folks that have been through the program and represent the previous 7 classes. Each year we either take them on an industry trip, so somewhere, a different state, to kind of see the cattle industry there, or we take them to D.C. Well, this year we did an industry trip. Went out to Oklahoma, and that was really great. Some of y'all may know where I went to school, Oklahoma State, and so that was great to get back out there and see a lot of folks and see a lot of great operations. We went to Oklahoma State, toured some of the beef units there, went to Oklahoma National Stockyards, great historic place. Went to Oklahoma Cattlemen's, had a great meal and a really great discussion with their exec, Michael Kelsey. Went to their state capitol. And then also just a few other places around there. But that was just a really great trip. And like we talked about earlier with the juniors, anytime we can get people out there to see different parts of the industry, see what they do different, what they maybe do similar. That's always great.
I have two things to add to that. One, Reid knows where to find good pizza in Stillwater. I'll say that. That was
Hideaway, if you're ever out there.
Hideaway.
It's good.
The place was good. And then number two, never give Reid the keys. Reid?
Yeah, that was the second of two key incidents this year. There was actually one at the SLE contest, but I'll talk about this one. Yeah, so I got down to the van. We were needing to leave about 7:30. It was about 7, and it was raining, of course. And I go to look for my keys, and I can't find them. And sure enough, they're sitting in the cup holder in the van. And I'll say this about that van, like, Josie, this being on a judging team. I mean, I know, 15 passenger vans, I appreciate a good one. In the last couple I've drove were like really nice. Like they had like CarPlay and all this. This is what like you and I, Josie, would be used to.
Oh, it's the old-fashioned judging van.
Yeah, they only gave me one key.
It's like a prison van.
Yeah,
Reid.
pretty much.
I don't
pretty
know what
much.
you rented, but it was like a prison van.
Yeah,
to me.
pretty much. Pretty much.
Checks
Didn't have a key fob. It was manual. So, us young people were not used to that kind of thing. And so locked it in there. But I will say I know how to find a good locksmith because that is not the first time that's happened to me. And you'll notice, Erin, got right out there. We got on the road. I'd done that before.
I didn't even know it had hardly happened.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm still drinking coffee and chit-chatting.
I'm not proud to say this, but that's not the first time that's happened to me. So I knew what to do and got us on the road. But yeah, keys. I probably need like a chain around my neck or something like that to keep them on or something. I
know what I'm
like
getting
that.
you for Christmas.
Yeah.
Now, Reid, I do have to ask, was the stress in the moment of realizing that door was locked similar to the stress of when you're standing outside the van before a judging contest? Like, did you feel it, you're by the judging van?
It brought back a lot of memories just driving around in that thing, just in general. And, yeah, there was a lot of those deja vu moments, yeah.
The backseat cronies, they were really pitching a lot of
They're wearing me out. They're wearing me out.
I don't know who was back there, but I heard a lot.
Yeah, you know who you are.
And with that, I'll add, that so while they were in Oklahoma, one of the things that we wrapped up here was we talked about scholarships opening, or we awarding scholarships back in May, but then in October we opened up scholarships for the Cattlemen's Foundation for the next academic year, and in November we closed them, and we closed them to find that we had a record number of applications. Erin mentioned that we gave out a record number of scholarships last year. Well, we already broke that record with the number of applications this year because we had well over 230 applications, Reid.
Yeah.
You got to see those come in a little bit more on the daily basis than I did, but holy moly, we kind of revamped that system and what it looks like and redid those web pages so they were a little fresh and new, and I'm going to say that worked.
Yeah, and those we should point out, do another plug. Those are funded through the Cowboy Tag. If you don't have one of those when you're up for renewal, be sure to get one. That's what funds those. But yeah, that's always great. Those kids that even if they don't stay in agriculture, they can go through their life and say, hey, I got a scholarship from the Cattlemen's Association. They're a part in getting me to where I am, and so that's great.
Yeah, and I'll say while Reid and Erin and crew were burning up the roads, I, to be honest, was excited to be back in Montgomery and kind of finding some solid ground under my feet after October. So really got to catch a little bit of a break, get caught up on some emails, and prepare for another year of checkoff programming. Just a good time of evaluation for me.
And I think we threw a board meeting in there, too.
Oh, we did have one of those.
Gave
And
out
a
some red
task
coats,
force
yeah.
meeting.
Some red
Task force.
Yeah, and task force.
Yeah.
Yeah, just lots of little things that happen that somehow we make it through all of them. Which gets us to, dun, 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 December. We are here. December is here, and Christmas is already over with, if you guys can believe it. We're looking toward the new year, to 2025. But before we get there, let's talk about what we did in December, guys. Who wants to go first?
Well, for me, December is a lot of planning happening in December. But I will just point out one thing we haven't mentioned all through our recap here is, man, what a great year for membership in 2024. That's a lot of credit to our president, Terry Slayton, the whole officer team. But we completed the membership year ahead of last year, so we were over the top for the state. Had over 36 counties go over the top. Lots of red coats we gave out, and so we're pretty proud to say, we're at that around that 10,500 mark on membership. So great
really,
cap
really
on the
awesome.
year, and just overall the association, I'll say, really a strong year for us as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just last week had our Junior Cattlemen Winter Board of Directors meeting, had that in Gunnersville. Really great meeting for them. Had Rebecca Barnett, the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Ag. She came and spoke to the group just kind of about her career and some things she's done, some issues she's worked on. We did our planning for our spring events. And kind of got all those lined out, and then went on a tour of Dixie Grinders, makes some industrial meat processing equipment. So really great experience for those kids. A great group, always fun when we get them together.
That's really cool. I'm excited y'all got to go up there and do. That's just something different, that you don't always get to do with Junior Cattlemen. So cool experience for them, and glad they got to meet with Rebecca because she's also really cool.
Yeah, they really enjoyed her.
And I think our beef influencer, Miss Kathy Adams Phillips, really took the cake for the December holiday season.
I think she made the cake.
She did. She made it. She brought it. She delivered it. But
This
you
was
mentioned
a major highlight for me.
Oh, it was so good. You mentioned that we're, the hostesses with the mostesses, but Miss Kathy is the hostess with the mostesses. She is the queen.
She taught us
of
everything
the
we
group.
know.
She
So
schools us.
I just want to read y'all the menu for our staff luncheon that Miss Kathy made for us this year, and it makes my stomach growl again just thinking about that meal. But we had beef Wellington, Parmesan potatoes, mac and cheese, glazed carrots, Arkansas green beans, roasted Brussels sprouts, salad with homemade dressing, rolls with herb butter, red velvet cake, and a dessert tray. So props to Miss Kathy. She does a lot of great work promoting beef throughout the year, but I have to say I really enjoy consuming some of that beef she shares as well.
110%.
And before you get worried, man, that they are just eating like that every day. I promise we don't. This was a once a year little Christmas party for the team, and but we really enjoyed it. And Miss Kathy, she's top notch.
She really is. And guys, unless I'm forgetting anything, I think that's it. I think that wraps up the year. And there was so much more that happened than what we were able to fit into about an hour-long episode of the podcast. I mentioned earlier that I thought that we were going to break a record. We smashed the previous record for the longest podcast with this one. So thank you guys for listening. This has already been a really long episode. We're going to let you settle into the holidays with this information, not throw any more fast facts your way. We're going to skip that part this week. But don't worry, they'll make a return next week as we kick off Season 2 of the Cattle Connect podcast. And I just want to say thank you all for joining us on this crazy ride of listening. We've had over 5,000 listens in the first year, and super excited about that. And we're honored to work for you. We get to work for the best people in the state of Alabama. We always say that. And we hope that you all have a quiet rest of your week and a very, very happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Cattle Connect, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when our next episode goes live. And until next time, remember, beef, it's what's for dinner.